Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's February 9th, 2015, and let's get straight into our news tonight. Now, regardless what your faith is or lack thereof, I'm pretty sure you have an inkling that you want to be a good, productive citizen. But if you are a Christian, does your faith mean blanket submission to government? We have the article, Church Asks Followers to Submit to Government, Call 911 on Suspicious Neighbors. According to an anonymous visitor to the Gold Creek Community Church in Mill Creek, Washington, who provided exclusive photos to Infowars, attendees were ordered to submit to the state without question. They had police worship today, and last week was military worship, where they played clips of American Sniper, the source said. They were telling people to basically worship the government and worship police no matter what. No mention of police brutality, no mention of the Stingray systems grabbing our data here in the Seattle area. Near the end of the sermon, members of the congregation were asked to raise their right hands and make a pledge, which included to promise to call 911 on suspicious neighbors. Now let's take a look at some of these promises, these pledges that they want you to take. We have the graphic on the Infowars.com site. It says, I pledge to do my best to follow the law. I pledge to thank a police officer or deputy for their service. I pledge to call 911 if I see someone suspicious in my neighborhood. I pledge to watch the back of our officers as they fulfill their duties. And I pledge to pray for the safety of all members of law enforcement. So, I'll give this church as much credit as I possibly can, the benefit of the doubt. But before I give my official analysis on this, let's take this brief look at a flashback, if you will, the clergy response teams.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect a suspension of their rights might last.
Now, as the gentleman points out, yes, there is Romans 13 in the Bible, but there are also a few key Bible verses or just Bible stories that you should know in case somebody says, yes, you have to submit to every order from the government. Let's talk briefly about the story of King David. Back in the good old days when the kings actually went out to war with their soldiers, they don't do that anymore. They sit around playing golf and basketball and all that. But back in the day, you see movies like 300, which isn't the most historically accurate movie, but the king would go out there with his guys to do battle. But the story of King David is he stayed behind, sent his troops out, and while they were away, he stayed to play, was committing adultery, and then sent his soldiers out to the front line, or a soldier out to the front line, to die in battle. So, even though he was God's chosen, the king of Israel, he wasn't doing everything that God wanted him to do. King Nebuchadnezzar. King Nebuchadnezzar built this big golden statue to himself. He had his subjects come and lay down and worship the statue. There were some who said, no, I'm not going to bow down and worship this image of you because I worship God on high. They were punished for their activities, but God saved them for denying the will of the king Nebuchadnezzar. And also, of course, Jesus Christ. You may have heard of him. He was out preaching the gospel, which was outlawed by the government of the time. So which is to say, if he followed the laws of the land, he never would have preached the gospel. We wouldn't have what we now know today as Christianity. Those are just a few examples of people who rebelled against the governments of the time. Yes, if you have a good, just, God-fearing government, yes, try your best to work with them if you have an emergency situation. But that doesn't mean you lie down and just blanketly do anything they asked you to. And this is a very good story to lead into our next one, lawsuit. Cops put a bag over a woman's head, strap her to a chair, and choke her to draw blood for a DUI test.
What country is this? What country is this?
Holding down and forcing someone to submit to this is really intrusive in terms of that level of invasive procedure into somebody's body is ridiculous for investigating a misdemeanor.
Intrusive, certainly. Invasive, you bet. But legal. Yes, say authorities, even though the law supposedly gives you a choice.
A woman is suing a host of parties after it emerged that cops in Austin, Texas, forcibly took her blood for a DUI test in a scene that sounds something more like it would occur at a Guantanamo Bay prison camp. Caroline Calloway was arrested by police officers after she refused to take a breath test during a routine traffic stop. Caroline Calloway was arrested by police officers after she refused to take a breath test during a routine traffic stop. Ms. Calloway was taken directly to the Travis County Jail, where shocking events unfolded. Calloway's attorney told reporters with Courthouse News that despite only passive and verbal resistance, she was taken to a small padded room where she was surrounded by police officers and strapped into a chair with her legs, wrists, and shoulders restrained. Calloway, who had informed police officers that she suffers from anxiety disorder, uses medication for the ailment, then began involuntarily trembling from anxiety and fear. This prompted the cops to put a bag known as a transport hood over her head and deprive her of her senses, and some backwards notion that it would have a calming effect. So basically, they strapped this woman down against her will, took something from inside of her body, and, don't want to put any words in somebody's mouth, but this is not something that I'd really want to submit to as far as government action. So, submit to some things, question other things, but just don't have a blanket lay down kind of deal, especially if you're not sure exactly what the person has in mind. Now we'll move on to something different. You talk a lot about people losing their jobs in this country and all over the world thanks to AI. And something out of a sci-fi movie, you see the old sci-fi movies where the only jobs left in the world are people working on robots that will replace them in the real job market. And that's exactly what's happening in Japan. Robots will staff Japanese hotel. Developed at Osaka University, the eerily human-like robots are known as actroids, most looking like young Japanese women. They can speak several languages and move their eyes to correspond with yours, a feature that could be pretty disturbing. The hotel will be located at Houston Bosch Theme Park near Nagasaki. Rooms will start at $60 a night. I'm actually pretty surprised that the rooms are so cheap. But, this is the whole AI thing that we see more and more. They get rid of Blockbuster. They replace it with Redbox. And now they have these humanoid robots taking you in at the hotels, checking you and taking your bags up to your room. And hey, maybe some people are into that, but I just see more people out of a job. Like I said, the only jobs that are going to be left are working on these robots.
Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfowarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients, extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfowarsLife.com. That's InfowarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.